Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. His Excellency Kiai Haji Muhammad Hasan Mutawakil Allah SHMM, as Director of the Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic Boarding School. Your Excellency Dr. Abdul Aziz Wahab PEMED, as Director of the Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University. Honorable, my Supervisor, Mr. Dr. Muhammad Hifdil Islam MPD, and Miss Nina Agus Haryati MH, who has helped me complete my thesis proposal. Unforgettable to my parents, especially my mother, who always give me support. My name is Putri Nabila. I'm a student of English Education Department, Faculty of Educational Scientific and Teaching. Here, I will explain my thesis proposal entitled Exploring the Effectiveness of the Duolingo application in improving English listening skill among students of English study program. Okay, background of studies. Duolingo has become a popular tool for improving listening skill in English, but its effectiveness remains a challenge to measure at Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University. Many students majoring in English education struggle to understand various accents and differing speaking speed due to limited exposure. This study examined how Duolingo helps students improve their listening skill, focusing on the accents and variations in speaking speed. Around 15 English department students use Duolingo because of its flexibility, gamified learning, and structured listening practice. The application provides exposure to different accents and adaptive difficulty levels and measurable progress tracking, while Duolingo offers benefits. Its dependent learning and perseverance. Its effectiveness depends on factors like frequency of use and students' initial proficiency. This research aimed to assess how Duolingo supports student listening skill and identify factors influencing their learning outcomes. So this talk is in line with the work and Allah in the Al-Quran, Surat Al-Mujadilah, which means or you will have believed it when it is said to you, make room in the assemblies, then make room. Allah will make room for you, and when it is said, rise up, then rise. Allah will elevate to those who have believed it among you and those who were given knowledge by various degrees. And Allah is acquainted with what you do. And the next slide is problem of statement. Based on the focus of the problem above, the issues discussed in this study can be formulated is number one, what is the experience of UNZA students using the Duolingo application to improve their English listening skill? And then number two, how does the Duolingo application help UNZA students understand different accents and speaking levels in their study routines to improving their English listening skill? Okay, the next slide is previous studies. Research studies highlight Duolingo's role in enhancing English language skill. Through various research approach, key findings include is number one, speaking skills improvement. Duolingo's game-based features help refine oral fluency using experimental and phenomenological methods. And number two, effectiveness of Duolingo. The application supports language learning goals through technology-driven methods. And then number three, university interaction. Duolingo can be effectively incorporated into curricula to enhance listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And number four, motivation in learning. Duolingo boosts student engagement and motivation through interactive learning. And then number five, vocabulary learning perception. Students respond positively to Duolingo, finding in the effective in maintaining interest and preventing boredom. Overall, their studies confirm Duolingo's potential as a valuable language learning tool, improving fluency, motivation, and engagement in education. And then the next slide is novelty of this study. And number one, focus on listening skill. Investigate how Duolingo enhancing listening comprehension, specifically in accent mastery and speech speed adaptation. And then the number two, context specific insight. Examine Indonesia university student experience where exposure to diverse English accents in minimal. And then number three, real world application. Evaluate whether Duolingo prepares students for academic and conversational listening. And then number four, using pattern analysis. Explore how fluency and initial proficiency impact learning outcome, preventing insight for optimal using strategies. This study fill these gaps, offering a deeper understanding of Duolingo role in improving listening skill, non-English speaking settings. And then the next slide, literature of review. In the digital era, language learning increasingly relies on technology-based applications like Duolingo to enhancing student skill, especially in listening comprehension, which remain a challenge. This study explored the effectiveness of Duolingo in improving English listening skill among students at Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University. Main theory from Richard Mayer. Learning is more effective when information is processed through multiple channels like visual and auditory. And then Duolingo applies this theory by integrate text, image, and audio, reinforcing comprehension through dual coding. And then the application manage cognitive load by gradually increasing difficulty, preventing cognitive overload. And then the supporting theories from John's Weiss and Edward Singler. Learning is an active process where students build knowledge through experience. And then Duolingo support independent learning, repetition, and feedback to help students conquer knowledge. And then from Clark and Mayer, effective learning happens when technology engages students actively, and then Duolingo enhances interactivity, which exercise, feedback, and a gamifying experience, making learning fun and flexible. And then from Skinner, immediate feedback reinforce correct responses and correct mistake. And then Duolingo applies instant feedback after each exercise, keeping students aware of their progress. And then this from work highlight Duolingo effectiveness in enhancing listening skill through multimedia-based learning, integrative engagement, and immediate feedback, making it a powerful tool for independent English learning. And then conceptual framework. This figure so contextual framework of how the Duolingo application play a role in improving English language skill, specifically in listening, understanding accent, and speaking. And then number one is Duolingo is used as the primary tool in learning English, and number two, the main factor that influence learning outcome are student experience in using the application and the role of Duolingo in itself. And number three, the end result is improving listening skill, understanding accents, and speaking abilities. And then the next slide is research design. The study employs qualitative research design to explore student experience using Duolingo to improve their English listening skill. The qualitative approach is questioned to understanding student personal perception and how the application contribute to their learning progress. The case study methods focus on student at Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University majoring in English education who use Duolingo in the learning routine. This approach provides an independent analysis of how the application, the challenges faced, and the factor influencing its effectiveness enhancing listening skill. Effectiveness in enhancing listening skill. And then the next slide, the presence of researchers. Researchers will play an active role in data collection and analysis by conducting semi-structured interview and observation. Semi-structured interview will explore student experience using Duolingo and its role in improving English listening skill. This method allows flexibility for deeper insight. And then the observation will assess how students interact with the application, including use frequency, independent learning practice, and effectiveness in understanding accents and speed variation. External factors like technical obstacles will also be noted. And then throughout the process, researchers will remain object, acting as facilitators, whether that influences student learning experiences. And then the next slide is search of data. The data search for this study is student from Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University who use Duolingo to learn English. Participants will be selected through purposive sampling, focusing on students who actively use Duolingo to improve their English skill. Respondents will include those with a different level of English proficiency and those who have used the application for a specific period. Who have used the application for a specific period. And then the next slide is data collection. This study used multi-tempo data collection techniques to answer comprehensive and objective finding. Number 1 is interview. Number 2 is observation. Number 3, documentation. Number 4, questionnaires. And then the next slide is data analysis. This study analysis Duolingo effectiveness in improving English listening skill among students at Zainul Hasan Genggong at Universitas Islam Zainul Hasan Genggong. Among students at Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University, data is collected through interview, observation, questionnaire, and documentation to provide a comprehensive evaluation. And number 1, interview data analysis, thematic analysis. Student responses will be categorized into KDM. Effectiveness, do students notice improvement in listening skill? And then the challenge, difficulties with accents and speaking speed. And then the engagement, how frequency and for how long do they use Duolingo. And then the suggestion, student recommendation for application improvement. And the impacted outcome, insight into student perceived listening improvement and main barriers. And then number 2, observation data analysis. examines Duolingo using patterns including its frequency, how often students use Duolingo weekly, exercise preference, listening activities, action and speaking speed, participation, for example, repeating exercise, and then expanded outcome, direct understanding of student interaction with Duolingo is real learning setting, and then the questionnaire data analysis. Number three is questionnaire data analysis. Description statistic measure student satisfaction level, and then the correlation analysis examine relationship between using frequency and perceived listening improvement, and then the comprehension. Do frequency users report higher satisfaction, and then the expanded outcome, qualitative effects of Duolingo impact on listening skill and user satisfaction, and then the last documentation data analysis, progress tracking, evaluate improvement in listening score over time, and then the use pattern examine if consistent using show better progress, and then the expanded outcome, objective data on student progress and learning trends. This multi-method approach actually to learn assessment of how Duolingo enhances student English listening skill and identify potential areas for improvement. And then the last, trustworthiness, the enhances the credibility and trustworthiness of the research. The following strategies will be implemented. Number one, data triangulation, combining interview and questionnaire to cross-validate finding and reduce bias. And then the number two, member checking, referring interview result with student to ensure accurate interpretation. And then the number three, editorial, documenting every research step for transparency and consistency. And then the last, as a relaxation, acknowledging and minimizing researchers' bias during data collection and analyzing. This step will ensure valid and reliable finding on Duolingo effectiveness in improving English listening skills among UNZA students. Okay, I think that's it for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.